A former police officer convicted.
God did what he had to do. Answer the prayer.
But the legal battle doesn't end with the jury's decision.
An appeal cannot be filed until after the formal sentence is imposed on that day.
But tonight, everyone goes home with a heavy heart.
Both sides lost. It was a loss of William Chapman. It was a loss of Stephen Rankin, family as well. We all lost.
Good evening, I'm Tom Shadd. A man who once swore to put criminals behind bars now faces 2.5 years in prison himself. A jury believes that's the appropriate sentence for former Portsmouth police officer Stephen Rankin. It found him guilty of voluntary manslaughter in court today. And we've been following this case since April of last year. That's when prosecutors say he pulled the trigger on 18-year-old William Chapman II as Rankin confronted the unarmed shoplifting suspect in the parking lot of the Frederick Boulevard Walmart. After the jury read its verdict, Rankin took the stand with this message for the Chapman family.
This is a terrible tragedy. I wish it never happened. I wish none of this had ever occurred. I can't begin to fathom how much pain that family's going through after losing a loved one. I wish I could have done more than I did to try and keep him alive. I did everything that I could, and I wish that none of this had ever happened.
But sadly it did. 10 on your side's Liz Kilmer's been tracking the developments all evening and joins us now with reaction from both sides. Liz?
Well, Tom, an incredibly emotional day for all involved. Chapman's mother cried after the verdict was read. Later, she didn't want to comment, but a family spokesperson told me justice was served. Meantime, Rankin's attorneys say the jury wasn't provided the full story. They say this isn't over.
Are you pleased with the verdict? Escorted by loved ones, Sally Chapman was too emotional to talk, leaving the courthouse Thursday, just hours after a jury decided the fate of the former police officer who fatally shot her son.
We wanted justice. We received justice.
Earl Lewis Jr., family spokesperson, says he's grateful Stephen Rankin was found guilty, if only of voluntary manslaughter. Jurors could have recommended a sentence of up to 10 years, but they went with 2.5.
Of course, it could have been more. But at the same time, you have to start from somewhere.
But this isn't the end. According to Rankin's attorneys, James Broccoletti and Nicole Belote, they plan to appeal the verdict, arguing that the jury didn't see the whole picture. For example, Chapman's prior criminal convictions.
I think it certainly impacted the jury's sentencing because he was portrayed in one particular fashion and we were unable to present the true facts and the true circumstances.
That's the unfortunate piece, as well as the fact that our client now is a convicted felon and his life is forever changed.
The case for all involved, wishing they never had to be here in the first place.
Both sides lost. It was a loss of William Chapman. It was a loss of Stephen Rankin, family as well. We all lost.
And Rankin right now is out on bond. His sentencing date has been set for October 12th, at which point the judge can impose a lesser sentence. His attorneys plan to request no jail time and then file an appeal. I'm Liz Kilmer, 10 on your side.
Well, now let's go back to the beginning. This all began last year, April 22nd, when police received reports of a shoplifter. Minutes after responding to that call, Officer Rankin shot and killed Chapman. 4 months later, State Police completed its investigation and handed it over to the Commonwealth's attorney in Portsmouth. 3 days later, she sought an indictment against Rankin. Then, in September, Rankin was charged with first-degree murder. That led to months of motions in the prosecution and defense going back and forth in court. Last month, the judge denied a change of venue, and last week, trial began. We've been telling you that Chapman is not the first man that Rankin killed. Back in 2011, Rankin shot Kirill Denyakin of Kazakhstan. Police were responding to reports of an intruder and say that Denyakin lunged at them. He was not armed. Denyakin's mother, Yelena, cared so much about the Rankin trial, she traveled 6,000 miles from her home country to see the outcome. She and others loved Denyakin, say the guilty verdict is good to hear, but there's still pain.
But she very sad when Rankin shot her son 11 times and he wasn't guilty 5 years ago. It's kind of upset, yeah.
But she feels vindication from this. She feels happiness from this, that he's paying the price.
He's guilty.
We
when he first came out here, he was our best friend. We were hanging out with him every day. And to have an officer shoot him 11 times in front of my house, in front of my wife, in front of my kids, and walk away from that, where's the justice for her family?
Investigators eventually cleared Rankin of any wrongdoing in Denyakin's death. The judge also ruled the jury was not allowed to hear that piece of Rankin's history in Chapman's trial. We'll be keeping you posted on the appeals process as well as the official sentencing. Meanwhile, find our entire coverage of this story dating back to the very beginning. It's posted right now on wavy.com.